The buzzing started before I understood what was happening. Laughter filled the backyard. Someone grabbed my shoulders. Someone else held my wrists. And then the clippers touched my scalp. At first, I thought it was another stupid prank. A joke. Something they'd stop before it went too far. They didn't stop. Hair fell around me in dark clumps, drifting onto the patio tiles while phones recorded. My brother's friends. My cousins. Even my own sister, covering her mouth to hide a laugh. Relax, someone said. It'll grow back. Don't miss out on the journey. Subscribe and let's grow, laugh, and learn together. By the time they stepped away, the damage was done. My reflection in the glass door barely looked like me. My head was unevenly shaved, patches missed, scalp exposed under harsh outdoor lights. Humiliation burned hotter than anger. I didn't cry. I walked inside. The dinner table was already set, candles lit, plates arranged, wine poured. It was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it felt like a stage. They followed me in, still laughing, still filming, waiting for me to explode. I sat down calmly. You guys really went all in, I said quietly. They exchanged glances, surprised I wasn't screaming. It's just hair, my brother shrugged. I nodded slowly. You're right. Then I reached into my bag. The room shifted when they saw the envelope. Earlier that week, I had finalized paperwork transferring ownership of the family restaurant, the same one hosting tonight's dinner, into my name. Our parents had stepped down months ago. They trusted me to handle the legal side while everyone else treated me like background noise. None of them bothered to ask what I was actually doing. I placed the signed documents on the table. As of this morning, I said evenly, I own this property, the business, the brand. The laughter stopped. My brother blinked. What? I handled the acquisition, the bank loans, the restructuring. Silence spread across the table like spilled wine. And since you all think humiliation is funny, I continued calmly, I've decided we're restructuring staffing too. Phones lowered. Eyes widened. You shaved my head for entertainment, I said. I'll let you think about what that says about your professionalism. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I simply stood up. Dinner's over. For them, it was a prank gone wrong. For me, it was the night I stopped being the quiet one at the table. The silence after my announcement was suffocating. No one reached for their wine. No one laughed. The clatter and chaos from moments earlier had vanished, replaced by a tension so thick it felt physical. My brother stood first. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked the confidence it usually carried. I slid the documents closer to him. Bank approvals. Transfer of ownership. Corporate filings stamped and finalized. I'm not. He scanned the first page, then the second. The color drained from his face as recognition set in. He hadn't read a single contract during the last 6 months. He had assumed I was just handling paperwork, the boring side of the business no one else wanted to deal with. Meanwhile, I had been negotiating terms, restructuring debt, consolidating supplier contracts, and positioning myself as majority owner. Not out of greed, out of necessity. Because while they treated the restaurant like a playground for ego and status, I saw how fragile it actually was. Missed payments, sloppy management, vendors complaining quietly. They were too busy mocking me to notice I was saving it. My sister spoke next. You wouldn't fire family over a joke. I met her eyes. You didn't think shaving my head in front of customers and staff would have consequences either. That's when it hit them. This hadn't just been a backyard prank. Employees had witnessed it. A few customers in the late seating had too. Phones were still recording. From a liability standpoint alone, what they did could damage the brand. And now I own the brand. I'm not interested in revenge, I said steadily. I'm interested in professionalism. I outlined the changes calmly. Mandatory conduct policies. Clear reporting structures. Social media restrictions during work events. Anyone who couldn't separate personal cruelty from business responsibility would no longer represent the company. My brother scoffed, but it sounded hollow. You think you're better than us now? No, I replied. I think I finally stopped pretending I wasn't. The dinner ended awkwardly. Chairs scraped back. People avoided eye contact. For the first time in my life, they didn't have the upper hand. That night, alone in my apartment, I looked at myself in the mirror. My scalp was raw in places. The uneven shave made everything feel harsher. But something else stared back at me too. Strength. The next morning, I walked into the restaurant with my head uncovered. Staff members froze when they saw me. Word had already spread. Instead of hiding, I addressed everyone directly. "What happened last night was unacceptable," I said. "But this business moves forward." I announced leadership changes. My brother would remain temporarily, but under performance review. My sister would step back from marketing until she completed compliance training. Gasps followed. They had always assumed family status protected them. It didn't anymore. Over the next weeks, operations improved dramatically. Suppliers returned. Staff morale rose. Customers noticed the difference. Professionalism replaced chaos. My brother struggled most. Without automatic authority, he floundered. Decisions he once made impulsively now required strategy and accountability. One afternoon, he confronted me in my office. "You humiliated us," he said quietly. I held his gaze. "You humiliated me first." There was no shouting. No dramatic escalation. Just the quiet acknowledgement of truth. The shift wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was structural. They shaved my head expecting tears, rage, maybe silence. What they got instead was control. By the end of the quarter, profits were up. Staff turnover was down. The restaurant's reputation had strengthened. And as for my hair, it began growing back, evenly this time. But the real growth wasn't physical. It was the understanding that power doesn't come from loud dominance or public humiliation. It comes from preparation, ownership, and the courage to enforce boundaries, even at a dinner table where everyone once thought you were the joke. 3 months later, no one joked about that night anymore. The restaurant was thriving, reservations booked out, reviews glowing, staff proud to wear the uniform again. Structure replaced chaos. Accountability replaced arrogance. My brother eventually apologized. Not dramatically. Not publicly. Just a quiet knock on my office door and a simple, "I crossed a line." I accepted it, but I didn't forget it. Forgiveness didn't mean surrendering authority. As for my hair, it grew back stronger, thicker. Customers sometimes asked about the buzz cut phase, and I'd just smile. New beginnings, I'd say. What they didn't know was that the real transformation wasn't visible. They shaved my head expecting humiliation. Instead, they triggered evolution. That dinner wasn't the night I took revenge. It was the night I took control.